Hi, welcome to the introduction video of the OSL Programming Notes add-on. In this video, I will be telling you all about the basics of creating OSL materials. Almost every Cycles material can be ported directly to OSL. And in this tutorial, I will be creating a simple diffuse glossy material. Here at the top left, you will see the Cycles material nodes. And here at the bottom, I have selected the OSL shader nodes. The first thing you need to do, of course, is create a new OSL material. Because these materials are not linked to any object, they are often removed when you close Blender, so I always set fake user to true. Now, the first thing you always need to do is add a shader input and shader output node. These can be found under the input and output. These nodes function much like the group input and output nodes. They define all the inputs and output sockets that can be used in your Cycles material. Then we'll add the diffuse and glossy shaders, as well as a mix shader. You can find most of the nodes in the same place as you would in the Cycles materials, and connecting them works the same as well, of course. Now, to add an output to this material, all you need to do is add an output to the shader output, and you can do this by either connecting it to the empty socket or selecting the type over here and then pressing the plus button. Right now we've already got a material we could render, so we have to go to the material Cycles material nodes, add in a script node, and from here you usually select some text file that is either external or internal. But right now there is no file yet because these nodes haven't been converted to code yet. To do so, all you need to do is press T to open the toolbar, go to the OSL programming nodes and hit the compile button. Then a text file is generated with the same name as the material, and you can select it over here. You can already see the shader output over here, so we just connect it and then look at how it renders. And you can see this is just a diffuse material because the vector is set to 0. We can't change the color of the material yet because there is no color input over here. To add one, all you need to do is connect the color over here and to add a new shader input. Hit compile again, refresh the script node, and now it shows up. Now if you render and change the color, you'll see that the material changes. To mix between the diffuse and glossy shader, we'll add in a Fresnel node. The Fresnel node isn't under the input, but under vector. And as you can see, it's got a lot of inputs and outputs compared to the default Fresnel node. I'll just add it over here as well. The vector output of the normal Fresnel node is the same as this KR. So we'll just add it to connect it to the mix shader. And the index of refraction is this value over here, but there's a small difference. This is the inverse index of refraction. You can read more about it in the OSL specification. To use the Fresnel node in the exact same way, all you need to do, of course, is add in a math node, which you can find over here, the basic math node. And just instead of using this as the index of refraction, which is the inverse, just divide 1 by that value. Then over here you've got the actual index of refraction. We'll just refresh the node again and render. Then I'll set the index of refraction to 1.4. As you can see, you already have some reflections over here. Now you might have noticed that this value was set to 0 at first and the material was completely black. That's because the default value over here is set to 0. And every time you add a new script node, The default values will be added here, of course, as well. To change the default values, all you need to do is go to the shader input or output nodes and change it. So I'll just set the index of refraction to the default of 1.3. And I can also change the color, of course. And if you hit compile at the script node, you'll see that it is blue and has an index of refraction of 1.3. Another thing you might have noticed is the name of each input and output value. As you can see, they are called var underscore 9, 25, 26. The script node gets these names from the generated text file. So let's have a look at that generated code. And as you can see, indeed, they are called 9, 25, and 26. To change these values, you can select a node, press N to open the properties panel. And over here, you can see a list of all the input and outputs of this node. So as you can see, the shader output has got only one input. And the shader input node has two outputs. And you can change the names from here. Every value has two names, a display name and a variable name. The display name is just the text that is displayed on the nodes. As you can see, this one is already called shader. I could, for example, call it material, then the name changes. I can rename these to diffuse, color, and index of refraction. But this doesn't influence the generated code. So if I refresh the code, you see nothing changes. Refresh the script, nothing changes as well. This is because these values over here are the variable names. This one's empty right now, so the add-on will just generate a random name for you with some digit at the end. But you can of course also change these manually. There are some rules for variable names. They can consist of letters, digits, and underscores, but nothing else. Also, they're not allowed to start with a digit. This is because of OSL, because it doesn't allow every variable name. So I could, for example, call this material as well. Then if I compile, you can see that over here, it's called material also. And if I refresh the script node, it gets renamed. If you type in an invalid name, it just gets reset. Also, duplicate names are not allowed. So if you call two values material, you can. However, one of the two will be recalled to material 2. I'll just rename all these values so that we can see the complete script node. This is the diffuse, color, and this is the index of refraction. And now we've got a proper script node over here. You can rename all these values as well. Also, you can set variable names. They're not always used because they are compiled as one expression. And most of the time it doesn't really matter. Only if you want to write a really readable code, you might want to set these values as well. But most of the time it doesn't really matter. Alright, that's pretty much it for the introduction. I haven't covered any of the new nodes yet, but I will do so in later videos. So just a quick recap. OSL shader node tree, create a new material, set fake user to true if you don't want it to disappear when you close your blend file. Always add one shader input and shader output node. Then add your other nodes, rename your variables, compile, add the script node and select it over there. And that's pretty much it.